Hi, my name is Brian Schuster and I'm the founder of Hivergent Media. Today we're going to be talking about why Bitcoin matters. So there are a ton of great guides online describing the technical details of what Bitcoin does. But today I want to talk to you about why Bitcoin matters. Sure, the value of many cryptocurrencies are rising steadily and it's really cheap to send money over the Bitcoin network. But who cares? Especially if you're in America, it's hard to see yourself moving away from your checking account and moving to a digital currency which mostly can't be used at shops or used for most services. So why does it matter? Why would people ever decide to move to cryptocurrencies in the first place? To answer that question, we have to go back to why currencies and banks exist in the first place. So as long as we've been human, we've had money and stores of value. The earliest known writing samples we have today are actually accounting ledgers to keep track of goods and services. Very early on, we figured out that bartering was quite challenging in itself and that we needed a way to keep track of this information. This is when the idea of a currency evolved. To be a currency, a store of value in this case, the currency had to have some certain properties. And really three important properties. One, had to be easy to use, it had to be scarce enough to matter, and it had to be hard to replicate. Back in early history, we used things like gold and silver to act as these stores of value. They were scarce, hard to replicate, and hard to find naturally. So these sources acted as currency for many centuries. After some time, people wanted a way to protect their currency they owned. This was around the time banks started to appear and act as that intermediary. But people didn't just want to be able to store their currency, they wanted to be able to spend it as well. This led to the invention of the banknote, which was a legal tender that was redeemable for gold, silver, or whatever store of value was available. So now, all of a sudden, we have a central institution that is responsible for keeping a balance of currency. There are people who are handing in currency, redeeming the currency, and even doing things like loaning out currency to people who want to use it. One of the bank's primary job at this point was to be a centralized ledger for tracking how assets were moved. As time went on, banks became more and more important to this process of being a central ledger. As the world moved away from the gold standard and moved to fiat, or an inherently valueless store of value, the banks became responsible for storing this money, making sure they had enough to pay people out and be able to redeem that amount. Then the world went digital, where often there wasn't even a physical piece of paper to confirm that you had the right amount of money. Instead, what you had is a store of value in electronic form, a database that shows how much money you have. Being a bank is a very good business, primarily because they are in this position of holding funds and being the central ledger. The world cannot exist without these third parties verifying and keeping this balance. That is until Bitcoin came around. Bitcoin was the first financial system that did not need a centralized third party to validate the ledger. All the members of the Bitcoin blockchain only manage the transactions and verification of records. No single party can manipulate the transactions. No single party can access the accounts. The system does not require anyone to trust any individual. The system manages the numbers. This fundamentally alters the role that banks play dramatically in our society. Their role of keeping the ledger is no longer necessary, or at the very least has major competition. As long as this technology works, as I have stated here, then the role of banks, one of the most powerful, profitable industries in the world, will have to change. And that is the reason why Bitcoin matters. Now, this video made you interested in learning a little bit more about Bitcoin. We got great resources on our website, hivergent.com. If you subscribe to our newsletter, I'll actually give you the three best resources we have available to learn about blockchain, Bitcoin, Ethereum, the whole ecosystem as quickly as possible. So please go subscribe to our channel, sign up for our newsletter, and join the ecosystem.